Take a deep breath. Deep conversations are starting.
Hello, third episode of Deep Conversations with Breath Hub, and I have an amazing guest again, dear Tracy here with me. And like I said in the last two episodes, I don't like introducing people because when people introduce me, especially when I'm on stage, they say things I wouldn't want them to say, or sometimes it's kind of like it feels empty because I know myself better than everyone. And I myself would like to introduce myself. So that's why I would like you to introduce yourself. This is kind of like, for me, it's a huge respect just for, leading you into introducing yourself.
Thank you so much. So yes, I'm Tracy Jane Sullivan, or TJ Sullivan, and I'm a wellbeing harpist and a breathwork coach.
Okay, what's a wellbeing harpist?
A wellbeing harpist. Well, I've kind of carved that niche myself, basically, Nevşah. So a few years ago, I became a harpist, which was also part of the breathwork journey. And I was an improvisational harpist for yoga classes. So I did a lot of yoga for years. All my yoga teachers had like music in their classes, and I was like, why not live music? And the harp is such a healing instrument. Very similar kind of effects to the breath work, decreases in pain, anxiety. They even use it in America during operations, it's so powerful. And I thought, what a beautiful thing to do. So, before pre-COVID, I was doing a lot of in-person classes, and it's this poetry as you're playing and you're watching the movement of people, whether it's a vinyasa flow or hatha, it's different how the teacher teaches. And so you are creating in the moment and improvising.
I can literally feel and see it right now.
Yeah. So much. And then that went on to work with like craniosacral therapists, storytellers, artists. I would basically say, have heart with anything.
Yeah, I love it.
Including breathwork, of course. So
I use not live, but I used to use harp music with my meditations while I was teaching.
Yes.
Like ney and harp, they are two main instruments or two main vibrations, because I wouldn't call them instruments. I think they are vibrations of like it leads you to channeling most of the divine energy, which is amazing.
So much so, people really do feel that vibration in person, and it stays with them for such a long time afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's like they are so much alike, like also ney, the sound of ney, which Rumi used to, use, and I use that a lot in my meditations and kind of like.
I've never used that, really.
It's amazing. And I did some live events. I'm planning some more live events in the future, but not now. But I did some live events in the past. It's just amazing. The reason Rumi created that ney from a bamboo stick, it has 7 holes inside of it, which is the 7 holes in people's spine, and it's the 7 levels of consciousness. It's the 7 levels of awakening. It's just amazing how it affects.
Actually.
Yeah, the 7 chakras, and you can literally heal all levels of the chakras with using ney. Like with every hole inside of it, it heals and transforms one chakra, and it just transforms the whole spine. But it's a very powerful process, so it's like you have to go really slow with it, especially if you're meditating with ney.
I really want to hear that. Where can I hear that?
Well, we will announce it soon. Very soon, hopefully. So, in this deep conversations, I don't like I told you, I don't like chit chat, and we don't. I think breathworkers don't like chit chat. It's
we love a good deep conversation.
Yeah, people who love breathing, love going deep as well, like deep life experiences. Yeah. And so, I'm going to ask you, what was the biggest challenge you were facing throughout your whole life? And how did you overcome that with probably breathing?
Gosh, breath work, I've had so many challenges, throughout my life. And I think it's almost like peeling back layers of an onion with breath work, isn't it? There's so much.
Yeah, I give that example a lot.
Isn't it? So different layers. We've all had different traumas, trauma with a capital T, trauma with a small t. And breath work, is gradually, because it's always a work in progress. There's always deeper layers to get into. Yeah. And, I'd love to tell you about my first breathwork experience.
Yeah,
actually,
let's talk about our first experience as
This
well.
was crazy. So my first proper in-depth breathwork experience was with Dan Brulé. So I went on a course with Dan Brulé, who I'm now a student of, and I remember I didn't really know what to expect. Again, I didn't really know. I knew a little bit about yoga, breath, but I didn't really know what was going to happen on this course. And Dan obviously talked us through different things. And
Dan is kind of like, really, he's the breath guy. He's become the breath, and he
is
in that rhythm the whole time, even when speaking with him. Right?
I've never met anybody as artistic. He can just create a whole universe and inhale, and a whole universe and exhale. He can take you to places. He has an incredible magic. Art,
magician.
It's science. Breathwork's a science and an art, and he has great grounding in both. But as an artist, a breath artist, he can get you to dance and form that relationship with the breath. Sure. So I really was, learning a lot on this first day, and he did prepare as well. And I laid down to experience, his kind of integrative spiritual breath work with
and
a conscious
had no
connection.
idea how it's going to be.
No. And basically, so it's first breathwork experience, and I'm getting a conscious connected breath, and all I'm really thinking is like, oh God, it hurts a bit. I could just be aware of, like, I couldn't breathe very. I'd never been conscious about my breathing.
I think the first really, really deep breathwork session for everybody, it hurts a little. It's like I've been hearing people who use breath hub every day and who have never done breathwork. It's like when they do 20-minute, 25 sessions, it might hurt, if you're listening to this right now, and if you're using Breath Hub app and using the daily breathwork sessions or joining some of our courses, it might hurt the first few times. And the reason is you are not used to deep breathing, and your whole physical body is not used to it. It's kind of like, imagine you're stretching your legs the first time, stiff legs the first time. It's kind of like that. It's like if you haven't practiced breath work because you haven't expanded or stretched those areas. Yeah. So what were the areas? That
so many areas.
Really
also, I'd add to that it's the awareness as well, because you're suddenly becoming aware.
Yeah. So the first thing is physical.
Hurting,
the second thing is actually psychological. It hurts psychological more.
Yeah. Like my back was hurting, my ribs were hurting, because he was really, asking me to, fill up from top to bottom, side to side, front to back, areas I'd never really become aware of before. And so that was kind of hurting a bit. And then it was just the whole physicality. And I was really going for it, because that's the kind of person that I am. I was determined. He was kind of like, obviously you have a choice at how, it's your breath, it's your ride, so to speak. And you choose how you want to approach it. And I was determined, because he said, look, it's a bit like running up a hill, but remaining really relaxed at the same time. So, you're really putting your body, I was going for it with a conscious connected breathing. And all I remember, my first thoughts were, oh my God, this is horrendous. I was like, this is awful. What am I doing here? This is so hard. I felt like I was doing the longest marathon.
You know what, Tracy? I have met a lot of people, because my first session was also like that. I'm gonna talk about it later. My first session was horrible because it wasn't even professional. But let's skip that for now. I meet a lot of people who are like, oh, my first session horrible, and then they don't want to do any breathwork session for a long time. Yeah. And that's why, kind of like, if you noticed in Breath Hub app, we consciously, and all the teachers, we consciously together decided to create sessions that are, 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long, half an hour long, because you can literally do the same thing one by one. I think, in my own opinion, it's like, I had my first and the second sessions like that as well. Yeah. And after my first session, I didn't want to do any kind of breath work for 2 years. Yeah. It was that intense. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I feel you can go step by step. Yeah. It's like you can take a step and do 15 days and then the next day, 10 days. And, instead of doing a whole session for 2 hours, and people are really delicate. It's like sometimes I meet people in my sessions, before, when I was doing live sessions, there were people even who wanted to literally get up and leave. Yeah. in the 15th or 20th minute of the session. And I'm kind of like, I'm not a fan of them. That's great also.
Yes.
It depends on what kind of an experience you want. But you can go slow. It's like if you're listening to this right now and if you haven't done breath work, don't think of it as
to do that.
horrible. You don't have to do that. You can just practice it every day. I think practicing breath work every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, especially if you're using different techniques and different
there's
methods.
different types, isn't
it's going to do the same thing. It's like one day you can practice diaphragmatic breathing, stretch that area. One day you can practice another breathing, like, more on the chest. One day you can practice a more faster, more slower. It's like yogic breathing. Then eventually you will open up. It's kind of like you'll expand. Let's get back to your experience.
To the breath. So but the thing is, Dan had prepared us really well for this and had prepared us for the distractions of the body that would come up, the distractions of the mind trying to take you away, that it may be like, this is really hard, this is really difficult, and you have a choice to push through or to come back. And again, that's everybody's choice. And since then, when I do those type of breathwork sessions, and I think, there's an opportunity to talk about the different types, isn't there? Because that's not just breath work doing those experiences. There's so many different types that are more accessible and just as juicy. That just happened to be my first one. But, I made a choice and I decided I really wanted to push through. And as I kept going, and it was just about that relaxing and letting go and accepting, integrating all those feelings that were coming up and not assigning too much, not assigning an emotion to them, just watching them going, oh, that's curious, and watching when the mind wanted to go, no, stop. So I kept going, and then all of a sudden it was just like this huge, beautiful release, and I was almost just felt this sensation of lightness, and then I started getting all these colours and this kind of almost like a bird, like maybe like an eagle. I've actually been looking to see if I could find this bird on the internet somewhere, and I can't find it. It's almost like a kind of mythical bird with these huge big eyes and this yellow and purple kind of plumage, and it was just moving its head and blinking these beautiful big eyes at me, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, that's probably you, huh?
Yeah, I was like, that's me. I love that. And then all of a sudden kind of came some memories and some kind of traumas. Some traumas, kind of early life trauma, but because I was in another space. I was still attached to myself, but in another space. And it was almost, I could think about and remember these traumas, but really...
As if you're watching from the outside. Yeah, I would like to explain that a little bit deeper to especially people who are listening and who are kind of like, what are they talking about? So what happens during breathwork sessions, and you will experience that using Breath Hub as well, we are human beings. We are not just humans or just beings. So and most of us are too much stuck in our humanity, we disconnect from the being. And that being is also the sacred feminine, the feminine side. So for men and women, we all have a feminine side. For women, we have a more, 60% of feminine energy. But it's kind of like that being energy, like our humanity is more structured because we have a body and it has a system, it has organs and everything, muscles, it's much more structured. But the being or spirit or soul or whatever you call it, being is this unlimited, no-dimensional, eternal energy, whereas, it's also breath, like breath, soul, being, it's all the same thing. For me, at least, it's like for someone who's been researching on breathing for over 25 years and who've been, practicing breath work for 25 years. I think Dan and most of the teachers, all of the teachers I'm here with, on Breath Hub would say the same thing, like soul, spirit, breath, that's all the same thing, grandfather's breath. And that energy, that eternal, unsettled and like which is everywhere and which is everything. And it's just this oceanic, unlimited energy.
Yeah.
So that unconditioned energy, when you tap into that energy, and we have talked about this in our previous episodes, like our, with our podcast with Mickey, we talk about this exact thing. It's like once you connect with that energy, with that unconditional, limitless energy, and you can only do that through deep meditation. And I think you can go into that deep meditative state only with breath work. It's like there's no other tool. And you will. It's like if you're using Breath Hub every day, you will tap into that level of energy where you will connect with that unlimited, formless, eternal life force energy. And in that level, it's kind of like when we tap into that level, because we're vibrating in such a high speed, it's kind of like this light energy, you literally can and do experience kind of like you move out of your body and you look at the body and all the lifelong experiences, and you can literally look at all of the traumas, your past life, your life, which are traumas, which are in the past now, with a more light and easeful, perspective, which leads them to transform. It's kind of like us being able to tap into another energetic level, like a high vibrational level, which is, it's kind of like we tap into this goddess energy, like this. I don't call it the God energy because it's when God, universe, whatever you say, combines with the human being energy. It's the purely goddess energy. It's the sacred feminine energy. When you tap into that healing energy, it's kind of like going back to the mother womb again, and it's kind of like tapping into this eternal life energy. It's beyond and out of and inside everything, and everything in the universe and everywhere. And so that's like what happens during the session. And then you just look at this thing. It's like if you have tapped into that level, you probably know what I'm saying.
It's like reframing. You're able to reframe.
Just you look at this thing and you're like, okay,
it's a great acceptance.
Yeah.
That's what I found is great acceptance.
Yeah, moving beyond this whole thing.
Yeah, and really feeling that in your body as well. So I wasn't disjointed. I was still embodied with it.
And because people will be, especially the youngsters will be, I think, interested about that. And it's very different than psychedelic energy.
Yes.
Because with psychedelics, it's some unnatural energy we're tapping into. And this is the natural of that unnatural energy. So it's kind of like if you're listening to this and you like the experience of psychedelics, wait until you start breathing, because it's the one thing we all are searching for. Rumi's words, he says, the one thing you're searching for is searching for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that breath, that eternal, soulful, healing energy. We all are, humans, are searching for that energy. We are searching for our being all our lives.
And it's there, as Dan
and
would
it's
say,
searching
under our nose.
and it's waiting for us.
Yeah. And it's natural.
It's just there, open, just waiting for us. And you can literally tap into that with breath work.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got access to it. Yeah. Everybody's got access to their breath. And, it pains my heart, but I'm so glad I'm doing this work, spreading the word and, getting people into it. And there's different avenues, there's different access points, beautiful tips and tools you can do daily, on Breath Hub. So many little sessions that can bring you really deep experiences, just breath awareness.
Even in 5 minutes, I think.
5 minutes of breath awareness brings so much benefit, like really powerful. You don't have to lay down, do the integrative, conscious, connected breathing. You simply just be allowing your breath, You know, how many times do we just sit and allow anything in our lives these days? We're controlling, manipulating, you know, but just to sit and allow, which some people find difficult.
Yeah.
And so when they surrender, and, you know, I love the way you all say, receive the breath.
Yeah, just,
when you receive
I think that
the breath,
energy of just,
yeah,
you know, that's how I explain it. Like you tap
beautiful.
into this energy of your kind of like inside the clouds, and you're just, you know, you're, yeah, it's amazing.
Just a few minutes of that can
yeah.
change your whole life. And, you know, you might have heard breath workers saying, oh, it changes your life. We're serious. It changes your life.
Yeah, what changed in your life? Like,
God,
like
everything. And it's still
challenging
changing.
and what changed?
You know, I had huge anxiety and depression. Huge, huge. The harpist part of my journey definitely helped with that as well. But breath work has just... I describe breath as my best friend. And I think, well, I know breath is your best ally in your life journey or any healing journey that you're on.
I love
breath has your back. Sometimes I call it the banister of breath. It's like whatever situation I'm in, wherever I am, if I'm feeling like anything going on, my breath is my best friend, is right there. And as soon as I become aware of my breath, because the breath's intelligent, the breath has your back all the time. It wants, if you get out your way and allow it to be, it wants to look after you.
I sometimes
physically,
say as a
spiritually.
joke, it's like if we all knew how to use our breath, you know, in managing, you know, different situations and symptoms, I think the whole...
It is a superpower.
The whole pharmacy industry would crash.
But this is it, and that's another conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Because it's like, you know, you don't need anything from the outside. If you just you're just able to heal yourself not even heal. You know, it's like I can just, as a breath worker for, you know, almost more than 2 decades, and who's also is expert on breathing sciences, I can reassure you, like, I'm certain if you go on and practice the breath work every day for just 10 to 15 minutes, you will be able to transform any symptom you have. And there are 200 symptoms, because, as you know, I'm also working with the breathing sciences faculty, in the faculty myself. And we've been doing some scientific researches as well. So there are well-known 200 symptoms, more than 200 symptoms of dysfunctional breathing habits. But I am certain you can transform and heal any symptom. It's like I have seen people literally, like, this is not something like to say, you know, you can do too. It's kind of like I have seen it myself with my bare eyes. I have seen people heal cancer with breath work. I have seen people heal. My mom had migraine, and it lasted for over 22 years or something. I remember when I was a child, and it was horrible. It was like the worst case scenario, because she had migraine 3 times a week, and she was taking all those, you know, pills, and it wouldn't go away, and she would feel numb, she would throw up. And she started breath work. She doesn't have a headache for the past 18 years or something. Like, you know, people do heal, like ADD, ADHD, migraine, hypertension, headaches, anxiety. Like you said, I'm certain if you dedicate yourself and practice day by day, you will be able to clear out all symptoms.
But it makes sense, doesn't it? This is a thing, you know, it's not woo-woo. I say to people, if you think of it, you know, your breath is the kind of foundational pillar of your biology, isn't it? It's linked to every system. It affects every system in your body. So, and
it's
you know,
much more logical than meditation or anything else. It's just pure breath. It's pure oxygen.
Breath.
It's pure life.
Yeah. And it's got that, you know, obviously the prana, the chi in the breath, you know, as well as the physiological effects, obviously, which you study.
Have you also realized, like, the more you use the breath, the more you can govern your breath, because you are actually working with life energy, like you said, chi.
Yeah.
Like, the more I work on my chi, and the more the conscious I get, and consciously I work with that chi, I get conscious about life itself as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of like governing my breath, I start governing my life. It's kind of like I govern my relationships, because if if you're new to breath work and if you think breath and respiration is the same thing, they're not the same thing. And breath is pure life force energy. It's the energy in your relationships, and it's the energy in sexual intercourse, and it's the energy in, you being on stage and, leading to people. It's the energy, of you walking down the street, and it's the same energy of the Olympic athletes becoming Olympic athletes. It's like this whole life energy. And once you, practice breath work and learn to govern that energy, we kind of like find a way to control and govern our lives. Yeah. And that's the amazing part of it.
It's so subtle but powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
It's really
but
hard
it's
to
like
explain.
Amazing.
This is what I've been trying to say to people. From my experience, it works twofold. You've got that physiological thing, where it's affecting systems in your body. Right, so that's a no-brainer. We know that. It's backed by science. We know that. But like you're talking about the other thing, which you can't really explain to people, it's just through doing breath work and even practicing on Breath Hub, a few minutes a day. It's this subtle energy which causes this huge ripple effect. So if you think about it, if you're feeling better from you're in your physiological body because you've been doing breath work and it's benefiting you, all your systems are working really well, and it's working on this deeper level, what happens is you start to make different decisions. You start to respond rather than react. You start to speak differently with your partner, with your children, with your colleagues.
And without even knowing it. That's kind of like the interesting part. Yeah. It's like it's kind of like it builds up. Yeah. It's kind of like, I like to explain it like building ab muscles. It's like you keep on doing ab exercises every other day, and then a month later or 2 months later, and then you eat a certain way, you start having those abs. It's the same thing. Yes. It's like you do breathwork session one day, and then the other day 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, daily, and then the next day, and then the next day. It's kind of like the more you connect with your breath and kind of like play with it with different techniques and
be
different
creative
methods.
With it, isn't it?
You kind of like start feeling what whole life is about. It's like then you start governing your breath, and then it becomes funny. And it becomes fun because then it's kind of like you manipulate and change your breath, you start manipulating and changing your life. It's just amazing. You play with life.
And it's
play with your breath so that you can play with life.
It's constantly developing, isn't it? You get deeper and deeper. That journey never ends. You're never like, oh, I'm there now with it. There's always, it's like this discovering this universe.
Layers and layers of,
It's so exciting, and as we, continue to learn and experience the breath, you just really, it's about your own experience as well, and you can hear what we're saying, but, we encourage you to try for yourself and notice. And I like to say to people, before you do any kind of breathwork practice, I always call it kind of breath awareness bookending is what I call it. Start off before you do your practice, just even a few moments of that check-in. Just so you know how you're turning up to your practice. What's the quality of your thoughts? How's your heartbeat?
Just check.
Just check. And it doesn't need to be long, like 30 seconds, 10 seconds. Just a quick scan. Then do your practice, whatever that may be. Yeah. And then at the end of the practice, check in. Journal it if you like to journal things.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Because you're creating a relationship with your breath, aren't you? And you're deepening that relationship. And it's about tuning into subtleties now. It's not about going hard. It's about,
just this.
It's much more subtle. So journal about it. Yeah.
And it's not a coincidence that I'm doing all these, hand movements, because it's kind of like life is all about that. It's like breath and life is just this, kind of this energy, like music.
We dance and music, exactly.
Rhythm. And once you are in that rhythm, your own breathing rhythm, it's also the rhythm of life.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's kind of cool. It's like if you tap into that rhythm of breath, you're tapping into this rhythm of life. It's the rhythm of your heart. It's the rhythm of life. It's
the
like
rhythm
this
of the universe.
And then if you're in that rhythm the whole time, and daily breath work does that, you're kind of like, you get it, like what's the next step? What's the next move? You don't have questions anymore. It's like, you don't have, that's the main thing. Because with every breath worker I talk to, or with each and every individual who practice breath work regularly or who have been practicing regularly, the one thing that I come up with is the power of decision, but it's not even decision. It's kind of like, in the moment, we breathers, we people who are conscious of our breathing, in the moment, we know which steps to take. It's kind of like this, if you're asking to yourself, like, what happens when you tap into that breathing rhythm? It's like, it is the rhythm of life. So you tap into the rhythm of life in the moment. And each moment, you know what to say, you know what to do, you know what steps to take. There isn't even kind of like this way or that way. That's kind of like this panicky, dysfunctional breathing and thinking habit. Should I go there? Should I go this? Should I do this? Just know that, that way of thinking, that's just panicky, anxious thinking. Should I do? It's like, you don't need to choose.
Yeah, it's that connection or that
it's
intuition,
like you don't choose
heart
yourself.
intelligence.
You don't choose yourself. You don't have to choose. Your individuality already chose your path. It's like, just be in the rhythm of your breath and learn to stay in the rhythm of your breath. And there is no other choice. It's like you are in that,
Yeah.
You're in your own path.
And it's that classic, not reacting, but more responding to things.
Yeah, and you're
without even.
Of course, it's kind of like, you're not. If you're on your own path, you don't get triggered. You're kind of like chill, and
because I found it really helped me, through difficult conversations in my life, and able just to stay grounded and out of other people's dramas, but to be there for people, with compassion, but not to kind of get ramped up with other situations, which is really handy, right?
Drifting away, just being able to stay in your own energy.
Yeah, just being present with people, but using my breath. So, being in a conversation, just breathing in what somebody's saying, breathing in, and then just letting it go.
You can then govern your emotions as well. It's kind of like you can literally hold space, or your own space, for your emotional being.
Yeah.
It's a huge power nowadays. It's like people get unbalanced the whole time.
Yeah. Do you know what I love about you? Because I haven't had this deep chat with you yet. So I absolutely love that you have this one foot in, all the breathwork sciences and the human behavior, and then the other foot in the real spiritual side of it. And I think bridging, you're one of the few people I know actually in the industry that has that, and I love that, because I feel like this is a time where it's great to have both, and
I'm a person who studied science her whole life. So I'm kind of like, if something happens during a breathing session, I'm like, what did happen? And they were like, there are some teachers, very spiritual teachers, so sweet. They kind of like say transformation happening and energy, but what's happening really, transformation happening, like you're releasing this and detoxing. No, I want to know what's really happening, like what's happening in my lungs, and what's happening in my blood and my tension, like what's going on. And then I figured out, it's kind of like right now I can back up everything, like literally breathing techniques and breath work. And I'm getting ready to publish a book, kind of like a really
oh my God,
hard,
are you? Are you?
Yeah,
really?
A breath book, but it's going to be like the book of breath,
Oh my God.
And like all the techniques and everything, the whole scientific information
all
behind that.
Oh my
because I'm
gosh,
like, I literally can back up everything I'm saying. And
because it's fascinating. I've been lost in the science as well, and I just cannot stop reading science. And I've been falling asleep with books on me, you know. And my friends are like,
because you're like,
what are
what's
you
happening?
talking about? And I'm just like, and the thing is, I've been really enjoying all that science, but where I've come to recently as well, and this is why I love, you know, where you're coming from as well. I love all that stuff. But now, like, my mission is to, how do I serve the people with it? How do I help people? Because it's making it accessible so that people understand. I know, you know, I've got a lot of knowledge in there, but how can I help somebody with that knowledge? How can I put that
Tracy.
across to somebody in a way that they're going to be able to digest it, that's understandable? You know, people don't want to know all this stuff that I know. That's just my personal love for all that knowledge, you know. And with, you know, with my peers, we can talk about all these.
But people
studies,
do want to
you know.
be healthy, and people do want to govern their lives, and people do want to, you know, manage their emotions and stay balanced. And this is the way. It's
and
like,
it's easy.
They don't even,
it's not difficult.
They don't even need to know about, you know, what's going on like we do in the you know, in the breathwork session or whatever. But if you want to govern your life, you know, if you want to govern your emotions and, you know, stay in that balanced state and without even needing anyone, any book, live life intuitively, using your intuitive powers, your real powers, like we did in the tribal, you know, times.
You know, and
just
people,
get back to your breathing.
People say it's like superpowers, and it really is in a way. I was talking to a friend yesterday and I was saying, look, I said, see your lovely Mini outside. I said, imagine you got up one day and I handed you this manual and you stepped outside and you suddenly went, I never knew all this time that my Mini was actually a Porsche, and I've been driving it around in first gear down the motorway, and now I realise it's got 5 gears, 6 gears. Oh my God, it's got reverse. It's got 0 to 16, 3. I never realised it could do all this stuff. And it's the same with our breath, being wandering
your body
around.
Yourself, you don't even know what you're capable of.
Once you realise, you're like, oh my, I can do this. I can do that with my, really serious? Yeah. You know, and people sometimes think, well, why don't I know that already? I mean, there's definitely been a lack of education.
You still think you have a Mini.
Yeah, you still think you've got a Mini. You haven't got a Mini.
I think
you've got a Porsche, baby.
I think we should end the conversation like this. Like, we got a Porsche.
We've got a Porsche.
Yeah, learn to use it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy.
Oh,
it was
thank you,
lovely,
Nevşah.
And I think it was a very very nice conversation, deep, and also I had fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to us today. Thanks for watching us as well, and I'll see you in the next episode.